kind of game's driving me insane. You've got the heat, it's in your feet. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
KCTV5, Kansas City's television, presents Comets Indoor Soccer.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
Live from the Rosemount Horizon in Rosemount, Illinois, the Kansas City Comets take on the Chicago Sting. Tonight's game is brought to you by the Athletic Club of Overland Park, Kansas City's finest. And this is Enzo DePayday. For 5 years, the Comets goalkeeper, the first superstar of this Kansas City Comets franchise and its first household name. Enzo DePayday is not in the nets this season, but instead he joins us tonight here in the broadcast booth, substituting for Jack Harry. Enzo, good to have you up here in the broadcast booth tonight.
Well, thank you, Don. It's good to be part of Channel 5, and it's good to be back in Kansas City.
Enzo, this game is an interesting matchup. The Comets come in here after having their 5-game losing streak snapped last night, so they're playing back-to-back games. They were in St. Louis last night. They're here in Chicago tonight. The Sting is also coming in off a road trip. They were in Tacoma, Washington last night. How tough is it to play back-to-back games?
Well, for Kansas City Comets, last night they were in a tough loss with St. Louis, so they are on a back-to-back, but they also have, this is the 3rd game in 4 nights, and that's even harder than the back-to-back, but Chicago's coming off a long trip from Tacoma. They just got in, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who's going to want to win tonight.
All right. What about last night's game? They let that game get away from them, so to speak, in the sense that they led twice by 2 goals, and they lost it. Is that going to have an adverse effect on this team? That was a tough game to let get away.
Well, last night it was definitely a difficult game for them. They were up by 2 goals and then let that slip away, but so Chicago had the same lead by 2 goals, and they let that get away. So I think tonight it's good to get back into another game and hopefully get a victory before Christmas time, because they play Chicago on the 26th at home.
All right, the Comets have won 5 of their last 6, and part of the reason they had that 5-game winning streak going were these 2 guys. There you see Dale Mitchell and Jan Goossens. They have got 14 goals in the last 6 games, and the Goose has been particularly hot because he has had 6 goals in the last 3 games. And we asked Goossens if now his start of the season slump is over and he's back on track.
Yeah, you know, always when you score goals, then people say, you know, he's playing better. But even when I didn't get my points, I think, you know, I was working hard, and sometimes you don't get the right bounce. But the most problems I had was the losing streak, you know, that we lost so many games. And I know we're having a good team, and finally we turned things around, and, you know, that helped my play as well.
Both Mitchell and Goossens each had 2 goals apiece in last night's game in St. Louis. Enzo, these 2 guys really work well together, don't they?
Well, like Dave Clemens said today, they have some kind of chemistry together, and they just work great together, even though the other teams know that they're producing very well. They're scoring a lot of goals, and they're marking them, but they're still scoring those goals and getting the assists. That's what's even more important. They're getting a lot of assists between each other.
All right, now because of the traveling situation and the bad weather here in the Chicago area, that's why this game is starting late. In fact, the Chicago Sting just got on the field a few moments ago. You're looking at Pato Margetic, who is warming up. Pato's had a lot of assists, only a couple of goals, but he's going against the Comets for the first time. He's got to be pumped up against his old team, right?
Well, definitely. Pato's excited to play tonight, and he said it last night in Tacoma that he's excited to play here against Kansas City and to show what he can do.
All right, we'll find out in a moment. The opening kickoff delayed because the Sting got in late from Tacoma is coming up next. This is the first meeting of the year between the Sting and the Kansas City Comets. Last year, these 2 teams split their 4 games, each winning 2 apiece. The Comets 5-2 in Chicago, and here in the Rosemount Horizon, they are 1-1. The previous games were played in Chicago Stadium before the Sting moved here to the Horizon in Rosemount, Illinois. Eddie Gettemeyer is in the nets tonight. He's got a good career record against Chicago, 3-1. 4 games so far this season. And his goals, won 4 games this season. His goals against average 5.41. In the nets for Chicago, Chris Vaccaro, his record 5-3, and his goals against average is 3.02. So it'll be Vaccaro against Gettemeyer. Alan Mayer started in the nets last night in that 7-6 loss in St. Louis. Gettemeyer is going to be facing something a little bit different here in Chicago, in that they have widened the field by 5 feet on each side. Normally the MISL field is 85 feet wide. This one is 95 feet wide. Enzo is an ex-goalkeeper. Do you like that or you don't like that?
Well, I talked to Eddie about that today, and I don't think he's too concerned about the width of the field. I think what he is concerned about is that they removed the plexiglass and they covered it up a little bit so he can see the ball better.
All right, the Comets coming into this game with a record of 7-7. Chicago is 1 game out of first place and 1 game over 500 at 6-5. That's Batata, number 77, and both he and Ben Collins are the 2 big scoring guns. Bonchek keeps it in, but Vaccaro will scoop it up easily and throw it back out the center. As Benzo mentioned, the Sting last night lost a tough game to the Tacoma Stars up in the Dome in Tacoma when this guy, Chris Vaccaro, misplayed a ball with the score 2-2 up at his own red line, and Ricky Davis put it in the open net as he was way out of position. So that was a tough loss for Tacoma, in Tacoma for Chicago, as much as it was a tough loss for Kansas City. In the corner now, this is Crumpy. Crumpy plays it back up top to number 77, Batata, the big gun on offense, along with that man, Collins. Collins working on Bonchek. He's off the mark. Bonchek gets clobbered from behind, and they got to call a foul there on Collins. Well, that was the foul of the quarter, first foul of the game. Chicago has been on a long 4-game road trip, which they split 2-2, losing the last 2 games of the trip in San Diego and Tacoma, and in both of those games blowing big leads. So Enzo, they got to feel like this is an important game for them to get their confidence back. Can't turn on it, and Pato brings it out. Here's a 3-on-2 for Chicago. Rojas, Pato, goal! Oh my! Margetic.
That was a great play by Pato. He starts the play himself. He brings the ball upfield, beats Kim Ropevent, and plays a 1-2 from Rojas, and finishes very, very well. Gettermeyer, no chance. Pato started the whole play from midfield. That's what Pato does best.
Pato Margetic's goal, his 3rd of the year, and that's exactly what he does best. You're right. Margetic, who said last night he wanted to play against these Comets, gets the first goal of this game. Here's Tasso, almost tripped. That shot is blocked out in front by Franz Mathieu. Kansas City's end.
Well, right now with this power play, it's we saw it last night that Chicago's done very, very well when they had the power play, and they control the ball very well, and he's had some good chances. Eddie's been very, very sharp tonight.
Inside a minute, there's the shot and a goal. Give the goal to Oscar Albuquerque and give the assist to Pato Margetic. So Margetic here in the first 10 minutes of this game, or 9 minutes of this game, has been destructive on his old team.
Well, Pato's been he's living up to his words. He feeds a great ball here to Charlie Ficus, and Ficus gives it a great ball to Oscar Albuquerque. He has nothing to do but put the ball in the net.
They're going to give Ficus the assist on the goal, but really Pato's the guy who started it.
Well, Pato feeds a good ball to Charlie, and Charlie puts it across the goal, and Oscar has the empty goal to put it into. Eddie has no chance, and again, the Comets gets scored upon.
Oscar Albuquerque gets the power play goal. It's 2-0 Chicago. For Albuquerque, that's only his 2nd goal of the season. He took the blame for that one.
He took the blame for that one last night. Great ball.
The other way, Batata shot and a goal! 3-0 Chicago.
This play is set up by Chris Vaccaro, which I think has got one of the best arms in the league today, and he's got a great ball to Batata, and Batata just a great finish. Does well to get by Gettermeyer and slips it into the empty net.
Boy, what a great job he did of getting by Runtvent, too. Batata was really flying.
Kim Ropevent does well to get back and just misses the ball, but that all set up by Chris Vaccaro.
All of a sudden, 5 minutes and 30 seconds to go, and it's 3-0 Chicago in the first quarter. For Chris Vaccaro, that is his 4th assist of the season, and he's also got 1 goal this year. I'll tell you something, Enzo, that reminded me of old 0-0 to payday. Here's Runtvent moving in. Out in front, Kia can't get to it. That shot by Tasso is blocked, and Cotto will bring it out.
It's good to see him back out in the field.
Gino let him know he was there, didn't he? Travel arrangements through Eastern Airlines, the fastest way to fly for free travel and get you there 3 times faster is with Eastern. It's the 1 to the Sun. Now, Gino got a goal the other night in that game against Wichita, and he's got to be feeling good to get back in the lineup. And likewise, this Chicago team, although I know they're going to be disappointed at the turnout here in Chicago, is glad to be back home after 4 in a row on a long road trip. Here's Mitch in the corner. Now Goose. Goosens, goal! What a play! Oh, what a play by Goosens. Michael Richardson's got to be talking to himself.
Well, that's what Goosen does best. He's known for his finishing, and he does it best. Nobody does it better than the Goose.
Well, the Goose now with 7 goals in the last 4 games. Look at this.
He gets the ball off the boards from Mitchell, and he just turns and puts it right through the legs of Michael Richards and right in the back of the net. Vaccaro had no chance, probably didn't even see the ball from that angle.
Jan Goosen's really rolling now. It's his 13th goal of the season. And he and the guy next to him, his line mate Mitchell, have really been on a tear here in the last 6 games for Kansas City. They each had 2 games apiece last night at the arena in St. Louis. Comets back on the attack again as Runtfen brings it in. In the corner now, Tasso to Kia. Kia fans on it. And Vaccaro comes up throwing for Ben Collins. Here's Collins back deep. Collins, goal! Oh! Collins got off a shot on a bad angle, and he pumped it in there.
And there's another assist for Chris Vaccaro. Starts the play again.
Vaccaro again with a great distribution pass, this time to Ben Collins.
Well, you see the end of the play here where Ben Collins just beats Tasso and is pushing off and just hits a great shot right into the upper part of the goal.
That's a tremendous shot, Enzo. He's got a terrible angle to shoot from there.
It was an unbelievable angle, and he just put it in the roof of the net. I mean, unbelievable goal. Chris Vaccaro again set that up.
Here's a team that's been on an airplane all day today. They got a late start out of Seattle because of the weather, sat around the airport. They landed at O'Hare Field, which is about 10 minutes from the arena, less than an hour before game time. As a result, this game started 15 minutes late. They look like a team that's been resting all day.
Well, it's amazing. They can work both ways. I know when we've had games like this, we get in the stadium when we lose by 10 goals, but it's worked so far to Chicago's advantage.
They got off the plane and came right to the arena, barely had time to warm up at all, and started this game. The Comets, on the other hand, Kia, a goal off Vaccaro, and the Comets hang tough. So after Goosen scores to take the wind out of Chicago's sails, Collins comes right back, and then Kia comes right back again. So it's going to be one of those kind of nights.
Well, Kia does well here. Everybody's dropping off and giving him room to shoot, so he takes the advantage, takes a shot from way out, and beats Vaccaro to his right. So it was a good shot.
Vaccaro gets a piece of it, doesn't he?
Oh, he does, but I think that they should have pushed up closer to him, not given the shots.
The little guy, Kia, who played very briefly several years ago, only 15 games with Phoenix, and then has spent his time in the AISA down in the minor leagues, and Dave Bonchek giving Kia a chance to play again and play again in this league, and the littlest man on the field does well. And I remember he's taking a regular shift for Damir Jaramillo, who normally plays on this line with Katsoukas.
The ball, he's taking charge, he wants the ball, he wants to take on the players.
There's the horn. That's the end of the first quarter. Well, the Comets do well here to stay in this game. They were in danger of getting blown out as Chicago jumped out to a 3-0 lead. But as you see, the Comets, as you look at Eric Geyer in front of the Chicago bench, are right back in it. End of 1 at the Rosemount Horizon. The Sting 4, the Comets 2. 10:55 to go in the first half. Pace is slowed a little bit here. Here's Batata moving in. Batata to Albuquerque. What a great play and a goal. Oh, give Batata credit for an outstanding assist. Boy, the Comets just having trouble now keeping the ball out of the net.
Here comes the play here. Ben Collins has the ball, plays a good pass to Batata. And Cacho commits himself. And Oscar Albuquerque again in the right position and has the open goal.
Boy, he's wide open too, isn't he?
Batata does well to draw Cacho over to him. And then Oscar is in great position. And Eddie has no chance to save that one.
All right, 5-2 now, Chicago, 10:48 to go in the first half.
Right now.
Well, they really are.
I think that they see the 5th foul that's up there. They know, they're aware of that 5th foul, and they know that they don't want it to be a cheap foul, but I think they let Kim Rofan get away with one, and now they have to let Chicago get away with one. So
They're tending to Runfen. That's Craig Klaus and Dougie Wiesner down there working on him as Kia steps in front now, so that we don't have the best view, but you see in the background. We'll hope he's okay. This is an official timeout here. This was not charged to Chicago, so it's an official timeout. You see some of the crowd here, and they're doing a little Santa Claus promotion here and giving away soccer balls or something. I haven't quite figured out what it is, but they're having fun, whatever it is.
Well, the last thing you want to see is Kim Ropvent go down.
They're here from Kansas City tonight, too. Yeah, you can't afford to lose Kimmy Runtvent. He's a key man for you. And I know last night he was feeling bad. He felt like he made the mistake on the winning goal for
St. Louis.
St. Louis, and St. Louis scored last night. He felt like he was the guy that cost him.
Well, Dave knows that a few of the guys made the mistakes. Not only did Kim Ropvent, but some of the other players. And he says, I can't blame either one of them. There's another game tonight. We can't think about last night's game. You got to dwell on tonight's games.
Well, in that respect, it's good. But as you see the crowd here, ever since this team left the Chicago Stadium and moved out here to the Horizon last season, they saw their attendance drop by better than 1,500, almost 2,000 a game, their average attendance. Now they're trying to build things back up out here at the Horizon, which, if you're not familiar, is way out near O'Hare Airport, where Chicago Stadium is right downtown in Chicago. Well, I think they thought they'd get a lot of suburban help here attendance-wise. It didn't happen. Comets down by 3. Up to Charlie Green. Charlie's shot is blocked by Pato Margetic. I don't know if the Comets are going to get another shot off here or not. Here's Schwab. Plays it for Kia. Richardson got a piece of that one. Wallace with the header. No call there. Ian went down. Here's Kia the other way. Looking for Wallace. Now Tasso. Hurry up, Toss. That's it. Time's going to run out on you. He didn't get the shot off. Well, been a wild and woolly first half, particularly the first quarter. Dave Clements not very happy. His team is down by 3. There were 6 goals scored in the first quarter. The Comets fell behind 3-0 early in this game and now trail 5-2 at halftime here in Chicago. Day back here at the Rosemount Horizon in Rosemount, Illinois. Enzo sitting in tonight for Jack Harry, who's back in Kansas City, as you mentioned earlier. Enzo, were you surprised at the pace in the first quarter, particularly?
Well, I was very surprised. I thought that both teams were going to get back behind the red line and sit back and kind of play the ball around, have possession, and maybe be a 2-1 game at this time. But being 5-2, I really never expected that.
Looks like Chicago, a team that really virtually got off the bus, actually got off the plane, literally, and came right to the arena from the airport, suited up and played. Looks like it agreed with them.
Well, I think they're still warm from the flight. I don't know, but you know, I'm sure that Dave's going to go on at halftime and hopefully, you know, get the team up and you know, they can get back in this game.
All right, let's find out exactly what is on Coach Dave Clements' mind. He's down on the field right now. Coach, what happened? What are you going to tell him at halftime here?
I got to tell him to keep playing, Don. You know, we got caught on the quick break there a couple times and got ourselves a short-handed situation, but I think if we can get back into our game and play, there's no reason why we shouldn't come back with a result. 5
goals in the first half. That's the most you've ever given up in the first half this season. As you mentioned, just some breakdowns there, right?
Well, you know, 5 goals is obviously a big deficit, but we pegged a couple back, and we might have had something else back there just before the break. So, you know, we're hopeful that if we can get into a groove, we'll be in good shape. But one of the things, it's a very physical game at the minute. We've lost Kim Ronvid. We're not quite sure how bad that is. Early on, the officials were calling a bunch of stuff, and then second period, they stopped calling. So we have to adjust to that and make sure we get in and get our licks in just like the other team.
Well, Dave, do you think that the field is having a little bit of effect tonight? It seems like it's a bit wider and that the Chicago's using it a little bit better. They're getting behind the defense a little bit, and it seems like they're getting behind our defense, and maybe because the field's a little bit bigger and wider and we're not used to it.
Well, I think it's more a little bit that we were caught sleeping. Baccaro's throws, he has 2 assists already. You know, we talked about it before the game, but it's always a surprise when it's coming down there like a rocket. The guy did very well. but you know, we're at fault defensively for getting caught with it. It's something we should have known about, you know.
All right, Coach, thanks very much. I'll let you get back in the locker room. I know there's a lot of things you guys want to talk over. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, Comets coach Dave Clemens chatting with us here at halftime between the Sting and the Kansas City Comets. And we'll be back with more of our halftime activities in just a moment. You know, there's a new trend in the MISL, like the NBA and the NFL. The MISL, the Major Indoor Soccer League, is turning more and more to the colleges for talent. In fact, at one point this year, 8 of the Cleveland Force's 15 players came from the college ranks. Our own TV5's Leif Lysick reports on soccer's new wave of talent.
Soccer has been called the sport of the 80s in the United States, but the so-called soccer boom is yet to produce an American superstar in the MISL.
There's no question in my mind that there will be an American Pelé or an American Zungle or whatever. So it's only a question of time.
And most likely, the next generation of stars will come from American colleges.
I think that there's a real trend towards that right now, Leif. As you see all the youngest players coming out right now, the real youngsters are all out of the colleges. There's a lot of the Ian Frazier's getting their chance, the David Bonchek's getting their chance, and John Stolmar, the Rookie of the Year last year. I mean, they're players that are making their mark in the league and getting a lot of playing time. Cleveland's playing a lot of rookies.
Gettemeyer was a member of the 1979 National Championship team at SIU Edwardsville, and one of many Comets with college experience. Tom Kane was a 4-time All-American at Duke and winner of the Herman Award, given to the country's top college player.
I think there's some good high school players as well that teams are going to start taking a look at, trying to develop, maybe helping out with their education as well on the side. You know, it's just going to take some time. I think the economics of the thing is that the teams can't afford to go out and buy the best players around the world anymore, so they have to start taking their time and developing some young ones.
I think it starts with our younger system, our youth systems. You know, the better they get, the better the players are going to be at a younger age, and then up through the college ranks. And it would be nice that we can just, you know, draft players out of college instead of having to go over and get prackies. I mean, maybe that's a bit naive or ideological, but I mean, that's what we hope.
And still more players, like Frazier and Jim Schwab, will come from the developmental squads, where players make about $500 a month, practicing with a team and working to earn a permanent spot.
You know, it took me a long time. It took, you know, I was on the developmental squad for half a season. I think the same with Chris, Ian, same thing. It just takes time, and hopefully, you know, the coaches and the organization can stay with you.
The most difficult part about it is you go from being the top of something to the bottom of something else, and that takes a little bit of an adjustment period. That's if you do make it in the league, and if you don't, you go from the top to nothing. You know, I know some players that hung around for a year, worked hard, and finally got in the league, and I give them a lot of credit. You know, you just have to be patient, and I tell anybody I know that.
So now that the soccer boom has reached the college level, maybe it won't be long before that talent rises to the top in the MISL. Leif Lysick.
Here's Goosens.
Behind you, hey!
How helpful is that for a goalkeeper to shout out those instructions?
As a defender, you love that when a goalkeeper's talking all the time.
Here's Collins. Collins still with it. Collins, goal! Oscar Albuquerque was there, but I don't think he touched it. He may have just steered it in.
Well, it looked like he got a piece of that ball, and
but Collins is the guy that made the goal.
Collins, again, takes on a few players.
Albuquerque's out in front. Now watch him.
Ben Collins beats Barry Wallace here and cuts the ball back to Oscar, and Oscar just tips it in over Gettemeyer.
Boy, he makes a real nice move on Jimmy Schwab after he beats Wallace, doesn't he?
He does. Cuts the ball very good here. He sees Oscar in the corner of his eye, and just Oscar finishes very well.
Tasso was right on top of Oscar Albuquerque. That's his 3rd goal of the night, so give Albuquerque the hat trick. But really, the guy that did all the work was Collins to set it up.
Well, Oscar also had the good composure to finish that very, very well.
Here's Bonchek back for Kansas City. The Comets now in deep trouble. Down by 4, 6-2. Centering it is McEwen off the boards. 40 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter as Cacho kicks it in the seats.
That's the last thing that I think the Comets wanted right now was another goal, and it's going to be very, very difficult this next quarter.
You know, interestingly enough, As Tim Bryan points out, Oscar Albuquerque played for Dave Clemens for a couple of seasons in Denver.
That's
remember?
correct. That's correct. I remember that. That's correct.
We remember him from Phoenix, but he was with Denver before Phoenix.
Yes, he was.
Talk about a guy that's been around the league a few times, Oscar Albuquerque.
Well, Oscar's a very, very skillful player. He's good on the ball, and he's been around, and, you know, he's a very skillful player.
There's Duncan McEwen, broken up by Greg Ian. Now Pato Margetic. Pato running into the Kansas City zone with Cacho on him. Here's Pato. Pato feeds it on the far side to Rojas. Nothing doing. Comets slow getting back. 10 seconds left. Here's Mitchell. Mitchell's shot is blocked. Now Rojas will chase it down and shoot it back out to Margetic at center. But time will run out as the clock sounds, the horn sounds, before Margetic can even chase that ball down. Well, not a very good situation as the Comets move to quarter number 4. They are trailing in this game by a score of 6-2 after 3 at the Rosemount Horizon.
Jay McCutcheon was probably going to play today because Chris played last night, and we were wrong.
Well, and he hasn't been none the weary for it, has he? No, 30 seconds left in the game. Goosens to Gino. Comets maybe will get one more shot off here. Out in front, Schiraldi from Goosens. Vaccaro throwing long for the open net, and that's 3 lines and of course a whistle. So that will stop the clock.
Got a little bit excited. They're a little over anxious to throw that ball down in the goal again.
You never know. There's Charlie Ficus and Gary Collier, 2 former Comets right there. Eric Geyer talking to him. They say you never know about this game. No. Who would have thought Chicago would have come out running and looking as good as they did in the first quarter after just getting off an airplane 30 minutes before kickoff. 10 seconds left. Patata, and Wallace is there again. That's it. This one's over. Chicago Sting and the Comets, their second loss in a row as you look at Eric Geyer and part of the crowd here at the Rosemount Horizon in Rosemount, Illinois. The Sting over the Comets, 6-2 final score. Enzo and I will be back to wrap it up in just a moment.